Hey everybody, welcome to Family Worship. My name is Josh, this is Cal, and this is Jordan, and we are getting ready to read, pray, and sing together with you guys as a family. But first, we've got a game that we want to play. It's a game a little bit about waiting, which is what we're going to talk about today. But first, I forgot something. I'm going to go get it, and I'll be right back, okay? But don't eat the marshmallows. All right, here we go. All right, sorry guys, I'll be right back.
No, don't eat a mellow. 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 Don't, no. Ooga, 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 ooga. Then bow, 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 bow. Don't eat a mellow. Don't not go the bowl of melon.
Wow, guys, I cannot believe that y'all waited so long before you had a marshmallow. That was awesome. I'm gonna give you one now. You want one? You want one? High five for waiting. We're actually gonna talk today about how God's people waited. High five. We're gonna talk today about how God's people had to wait for something too, and it was something even better than marshmallows. So it might not be marshmallows, but Advent is about waiting. It's about waiting for someone special, and I want to read you guys a story that helps explain why people were waiting. Every story has a beginning. I'll bet you've read a lot of books that start with once upon a time or a long, long time ago in a land far, far away. But do you know how your story begins? You might think your story begins when you were born, but it goes back further than that. It goes back before you were born, before your parents were born, and before your parents' parents were born. In fact, it goes back before anyone was born, all the way back to the very beginning. And in the very beginning, there was almost nothing. No people, no houses, no animals, no plants, no you and no me. But someone was there, and his name was God. He was ready to write the greatest story anyone has ever told. And as it turns out, it's also the story of Christmas. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was nothing but God. So God looked around and said, let's take this nothing and make something. And that's just what he did. He saw darkness and said, sorry, darkness, I'm making light. Then he said, hey, that's good. He saw empty spaces and said, sorry, emptiness, I'm making planets. Then he said, hey, that's good too. He saw an empty earth and said, sorry, boring old empty earth, I'm making meadows and mountains, tiny creeks and enormous oceans, daffodils and dragonflies, hydrangeas and hippos. Then he said, hey, all of this is good. And last of all, he made the best part. Can you guess what it was? People. God made a man named Adam and a woman named Eve. They were special because God had made them to think like him and act like him. So God said, this isn't just good, this is really good. Adam and Eve were like children to God, so it was no surprise that the first thing they heard him say was, I love you. Adam and Eve lived every day with God in the garden he made for them, called Eden, until something went wrong. God had told Adam and Eve they could eat fruit from all the trees in Eden except one. Do not eat from this tree, God said, or the world will fill up with wrong and with darkness. Death will come very close, and I will seem very far away. But there was a snake in the garden who lied to Adam and Eve. That's right, a talking snake. It's not wrong, the snake said, and death won't come close at all. Just one bite. What's the worst that could happen? Eve picked the fruit and ate some. So did Adam. They chose their way over God's way, which is what we call sin. Immediately, everything changed. God knew what had happened, and his heart began to break. He went to check on Adam and Eve, but all they wanted to do was hide. They didn't want to see him anymore. So God gave them the terrible thing they wanted, to go away from God. God sent Adam and Eve out of the garden and away from him. In the years to come, when life was difficult, when the ground was hard, when the world was filled with wrong and with darkness, Adam would think back to that garden. He would remember the day when God was with him and with Eve. But God couldn't remain. Sin drove him away. So Adam and Eve began to hope and to pray. God, will you bring us back one day? God, will you come back to stay? For years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, God's people waited for him to come back and save them, to come back and stay. So for the next couple weeks, we can feel just a small sense of that waiting for the Messiah, anticipating the birth of the King and hoping with confidence that God's promise to defeat the serpent will come true when Jesus comes to the earth. Now let's take a minute and talk together as a family about waiting.
I said go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. So go tell it, Lord. Hey, Lord. So go tell it. While shepherds kept their watching, or silent flocks by night, yeah, yeah. Behold, throughout the heaven, behold, there shone a holy light. What you say? Yeah. I said, go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it, yeah. Jesus Christ is born. So go tell when low above the earth, rang out the angel chorus that held our Savior's birth. I said, go tell it on the mountain, go tell it, yeah, over the hills and everywhere I go. Tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Say it, gotta tell it, oh Lord, Lord. Talking about Emmanuel, talking about the rose of Sharon, talking about the Lion of Judah. Somebody say hallelujah. Talking about Mary's baby. We're talking about the Rock of Ages. Talking about the Prince of Peace. Come to save you and me. Go tell it on the mountain. Tell it, yeah, over the hills and everywhere I go. Tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Oh Lord, ooh, gotta run and tell it. Oh yeah.
Let's keep anticipating the coming of Jesus this Christmas. And remember, wherever you are sent.